Hi everyone. This is a bit scary. This is my first live stream on my own. Some of you who may be watching or who may watch it back later will know that up until June this year, I did some live streams for me and Danielle with In Control Scotland. But Keith was always in the background somewhere if something went wrong. So just bear with me today and over the next couple of days until I get to grips with this whole live streaming thing. You may have seen in my post on social media this morning that I said that if you wanted to comment on anything during the live stream, you may have to do so through your Options Understood Facebook page or my own personal page. But since preparing to come live, I've noticed that I can see the chat box at the side. So if any of you feel that you want to comment, you can try commenting on YouTube and see if I see any of your comments. If not, I've just seen Donna's, so hopefully that means you can comment on YouTube and I'll be able to see it. Failing that, you can also do it on my Facebook pages, and I'll try my best to have a look at them on my phone as we go. But yeah, if you've seen my post off for you's live stream this week, you'll know that I've decided to do it in connection with Disability Pride and as a way of your Options Understood. Celebrating Disability Pride, I'll be honest and probably ashamed as well to admit that I didn't know Disability Pride was a thing until I seen it on social media at the end of June, the beginning of July, and then I realised that actually people in the UK and in Scotland were also celebrating it. And I've just noticed that Ellie's also put up a comment. So hi Ellie, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoy the live stream. So it felt only right that I started today's live stream by looking at the history of Disability Pride before moving on to looking at some examples of how it's being celebrated in the past and currently all over the UK. So if we start with the Disability Pride history, the first Disability Pride celebration was in Boston in 1990, and this was the same year that the American Disability Act was signed into law. So I guess it was really a good connection that these two things were celebrated in the same year. And I've also noticed that Alistair's joined this afternoon. So hi Alistair, and thanks for joining us. So the first Disability Parade was held in Chicago, and it brought thousands into the city. And the first parade was in July 18, 2004. There's been celebrations that I've noticed since the beginning of July, but I picked this week because it's the last week of the month. But this month is a chance to honour each person's uniqueness. I know when I was looking it up how others seem to sum this celebration up. One of the quotes that stood out for me was, it's a celebration to honour each person's uniqueness as a natural and beautiful part of human diversity. I'm not sure I would have chosen that exact description, but just because I don't know if I would have chosen that wording, but I guess it is a good way of saying that everybody's beautiful and despite disability, and everybody's unique. So what is beautiful to one person um, might mean something completely different to someone else, I guess. So what I'm trying to say is, although I might have not chosen that description myself, it's a really good description of showing that how different and diverse disability and people in general, despite disability, can be, or taking disability out of the equation, it still applies. In 2020, Brighton held its first online disability Pride Festival that was accessible to all, and they made it accessible to all to because it was online, I'm guessing, like a lot of things last year due to the pandemic, and they made it accessible to all because this online event was also had audio and BSL attached to it, so literally anybody with any impairment could join. And reading Alistair's comment just now, he said it's amazing how recent it's been, and how it's compared to other minority groups. And yeah, it's really good to see how recent it's been. I couldn't find anything to say whether the Brighton Online Festival was planned before COVID or they did this in response to COVID, but I'm guessing, like many other things, it was probably in response to COVID, and the only way it could go ahead, given the restrictions we were living in at that point last year. There's 14.1 million people in the UK living with a disability, so I guess that puts it into perspective why these things should be celebrated, and the fact that it might be an American thing to begin with. It might have originated from America, but it's also been pretty much worldwide. There'll be some sort of celebrations worldwide. I would imagine maybe this would vary throughout the world and in different countries, but the fact that it's being acknowledged as not just an American thing shows how far it should be celebrated and how far it's come. And Ellie has put up a comment that said it should have happened for years, and Ellie, you're probably right. These things should have happened for years, but I guess you have to take some positivity in the fact that it's happening now. So if we started by looking at the history. So I then felt it was only right that I spoke about if I can get my cue cards back to the right place. Examples of other celebrations. So we touched on one to say thanks, Ellie. I'm glad you agree that we have to take some positivity in what we're seeing now. As I said, it was there was a Brighton Festival last year, but it's also been celebrated obviously in America where it originated from, and in other parts of the world. It varies depending on where you are in the world. But if you do a quick online search, you can see how it's been celebrated in various parts of the world. And why did I and Europeans understood, or you wanted, why did I decide that we should mark this occasion? Because, as I said, I was ashamed to admit that I didn't really know it existed till I seen other people post about it in social media. But once I knew what it was all about and where it originated from, it was only right that Europeans understood, and I did something to celebrate it, and that's why we're doing live streams over the next 3 days. Because it wouldn't be right that I do the work that I do, and Europeans understood stands for the things it stands for disabled people. If we didn't celebrate it, we advocate for people to have the same rights as everybody else. So why should we not celebrate disability pride and be proud of that fact? And I guess that was a lot of reason why I wanted to make sure that you and I celebrated the occasion, and I'm glad that some of you have joined me to help me do that, and I really appreciate that. And the next point I sort of marked in relation to today's live stream was to talk about why I'm proud to be disabled, and if any of you watching want to put some comments up about why you're proud to be disabled, or whether you're proud to be disabled. You might not be. That might just be an assumption I'm making, and if that's the case, I apologise. But if you have any comments that you want to put up about whether or not you are proud to be disabled and why, feel free to do so. But for the next few minutes, I'm going to maybe touch upon a few reasons of why I'm proud to be disabled. Firstly, as much as I argue the case that my CP is only a small part of who I am, that's true, and it will never define me or limit what I do in life. If I can't do it the conventional way, I'll certainly find a way, whether that's going over or under barriers. I'm not quite sure which, but although I always argue that it's only a small part, there's no getting away from the fact that it is a significant part, and it is part of who I am. Danielle would be a totally different person if I didn't have my CP. I've often wondered about this over the years in terms of, obviously, if I didn't have my disability, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, because I wouldn't have the lived experience to share with people. So I guess that part of the question is answered in terms of would I be going down a different career path if I didn't have CP. The answer to that would obviously be yes, but then I guess people that don't have disabilities can do work for disabled people's organisations. So would it be a completely different path? I'm not sure, because that would still be open as an option. But I've often wondered, if I didn't have a disability, would I have a different moral outlook, or would I have a different set of morals? Slightly, maybe they wouldn't be totally different, but I think my outlook to life would be different, possibly because I would have the understanding of disability that I have now. Maybe I would be one of those people that actually get on my nerves at the if I'm honest, when they try to understand disability when actually they don't have a clue, and they try not to cause offence, and actually they cause offence. Maybe I'll openly admit, maybe I would be one of those people if I didn't have disability. I can't say whether I would or wouldn't, but people sometimes over the years people have asked me, do you think you would have went to uni and done the things that you do if you didn't have a disability? I've often wondered that myself. If I didn't have a disability, not that a disability should stop somebody having a relationship or a family, and I know people that it certainly does stop this happening, but I've often thought over the years, if I didn't have a disability, would I be married with kids by now? I don't know. I can't answer that. Or would I be I don't know, would I be divorced with kids by now? These things can happen. I could still be that if I meet somebody tomorrow or next week, despite my disability. But I'm just trying to weigh up things. Where life would have taken a different path. I think there's no denying it would have. But I think to acknowledge that, I have to like you say, well, okay, this could have been my life, but this is my life, and I'm proud that it's my life. I'm also, what also makes me proud to be disabled, but also frustrated at times, is the fact that we've came a long way, and the narrative is slowly changing for disabled people, albeit very slowly in parts. But it is slowly changing for people, and I hope that Europeans understood, and I are becoming part of that narrative change. I'm proud to be disabled because I feel I've highlighted more than one, but probably one of the biggest things for me is being able to pinpoint things like having your own identity. That is so important for disabled people, and as some of you watching will know, you and I have done a lot of work and continue to do a lot of work around it. And about the importance of people having individuality and being encouraged to embrace this. There are people out there that can't voice their wishes for this, so I hope that through some of what you and I do, that we can change this for disabled people and support them in making this change. I've seen a couple of comments come up. Ellie has said that she's proud to be disabled because it's who she is, and um, and like me, she's came a long way. And I can vouch for some of that, and I know that Ellie has had similar struggles to myself, or similar challenges. So yeah, Ellie, you should be proud of how far you've came. And Alistair, you've put up opportunities for dating for people with disabilities are still lacking for many groups in Scotland, and I would totally agree with that. You and I have done some work with some of our colleagues around relationships and things, and I had many a conversation about programs like the Undateables, for example. And I don't mean to cause offence to anybody watching who feels the opposite to these programs or support these programs. I don't not support them, but I feel they have their place, and I can see why they're important to some people. But just the sheer title of the program, Undateables, it really makes me cringe because it's implying quite strongly that if you're disabled, you're undateable, which is not the case. Although I'm single at the moment, I have been in relationships. So I know that that's not the case, and I also know of people that are in relationships, and I even know someone at the moment that has a disability. But it's also starting a family, and so that shows that these things can be done. And I get, Ellie's agreeing with me that she doesn't like the title of that program. And so I think there's some of us that are in agreement of that. But yes, I don't, like I've said, I don't mean to cause offence to anybody that would have the opposite opinion. But why else am I proud to be disabled? I'm proud to be disabled because it's given me the confidence to challenge decisions and for example, with people in authority, I haven't wanted to do this, but I have felt that I've been no other option. And whilst I would say that people shouldn't be put in the position of having to challenge decisions, um, the sheer fact that I've been able to do so, I hope sets the precedent for other people, and through accessing the right support that they're able to do the same. Um, I'm proud to be disabled because it's also made me make some really, or helped, not made me, that was the wrong word in there, sorry, but helped, I suppose, helped me make connections with a lot of people, professionally and personally, that I wouldn't otherwise have working relationships or friendships with. So without my disability, I wouldn't have that. So I'm really appreciative of that. I think I'm also proud to be disabled because it's made me, like a lot of us watching, we have different roles in life. So we might be a sister or an auntie. In my case, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend, I'm a colleague, and it's made me, whatever role we're talking about, whether it's a friend, a colleague, a brother, a sister, or a daughter, it's made me the person I am in that role. For example, if I didn't have my CP, my dad would probably have a totally different daughter. Um, he was told once he had a very vocal daughter, which made me laugh when he told me, because he does have a very vocal daughter. I'm not ashamed to admit that. I know that my dad probably cringes at me at times because he's quite old school. But at the end of the day, he knows that challenging decisions is the right thing to do, and by doing so, it's got me to where I am. Ellie's put up that if she wasn't disabled, she wouldn't be able, she wouldn't have be where she is today, and probably wouldn't have a volunteering job. That's a good point to make it. Ellie, and you're probably right. You would probably have chosen a different career path as well. So yeah, I think it's all good points to make. Um, I'm also proud to be disabled because I've now challenged decisions and I'm now in my own house. I'm proud to be disabled because now I'm working towards being a champion for disabled people, and just 10 minutes before I came on this call, I've been asked to lead a project that will be associated with an organisation who supports people in supported employment. So to be given that opportunity and to be asked to lead the, the programme, that's an amazing opportunity, and it's one that I'm really keen to embrace. But I'll be perfectly honest, I'm really nervous about it, because I've never actually led a project before, but as of this week I will be. So without my disability I wouldn't have opportunities like these, or the opportunities that I mentioned earlier when I do things like being Danielle for Ring Control Scotland. These opportunities wouldn't have emerged without my disability, because I wouldn't have the lived experience to be able to relate to people and to be able to share this experience and knowledge that I have. I'm proud to be disabled, because having the lived experience that I do have, it allows me to educate, and I know this is maybe not the best word to use, but train like support staff that support people with disabilities. And through my lived experience, I hope that I will be able to educate the people that work in these sectors, because it will change the mindset of the people who deliver these services, and will change the way they implement their practices. So yeah, I'm proud, because I'll be part. I can be part of influencing that change and making life better for others. And I see that Ellie's put another comment up that she now lives in supported living and she loves having her own place. You and me both, Ellie. My house is not in supported living, but I do have support that helps me live independently. My house might not be perfect in the sense that there's still some adaptations needed, but for a house that's not been purpose built, it works really well, and I have it working really well with my support. So yeah, that's another reason for us both and for other people watching to be proud of being disabled. And I just think I'm proud to be disabled, because I can do things like this, and I can celebrate disability pride. I wouldn't be able to do that. Well, maybe I would if I was supporting others to do it. If I didn't have my disability, but I wouldn't be able to do it to the same extent if I didn't have my lived experience. So yeah, I think that's in a nutshell about why I'm proud to be disabled. And thanks, Ellie. I hope I will get there with my own house eventually, and hopefully I'll at some point be able to get the ramp that I need to be able to access my back door. But that's just an example of another challenge that I have to overcome, and some I don't know how I'll overcome it, but I'm sure I'll find a way eventually. And as time is drawing close to the half an hour mark, I'm just going to sum this up and say thanks for joining me, and I hope you join me again tomorrow, where I'll be talking about um, why I'm not an inspiration. Join me tomorrow to find out why I I have this view of having a disability, and why I don't feel myself as an inspiration, and and why and why I see it more as a not an insult, that's the wrong word again, but more of a questionable term, shall we say, rather than something that's more positive. Thanks, Ellie. Thanks, Alistair, and anyone else that's joined. And I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Yeah.